if you clicked on this video, you probably are fighting with the same thing that I've fought with over the last year or so, which is the simple fact that even though you feel like you're sleeping and you're resting enough, you still just don't feel at all rested and you have low energy. And so there's actually a lot of reasons for this, and so I'm going to unpack it in this video pretty simply. Let's get started. So, firstly, yeah, sleep, it's not just about duration of sleep. Obviously, there's also quality of sleep, but also hormones, circadian rhythm, nutrition, the function of your mitochondria and your cells, your stress levels, your movement, also like pollution and stuff like that. We're going to touch on all of that. And the problem is that modern life sort of disrupts all of these simultaneously, which is super problematic. So, we're also going to look at some practical steps that you can take. So, firstly, just to recap, the circadian system is what controls your sleep timing, your hormone release, your body temperature, your metabolism, and your alertness. And how it works is light hits your eye, it goes past your eye to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which basically then grades the light and then determines the time of day. And then it sends it through an optic nerve to your hypothalamus, which is like here-ish, and then that produces the hormones and signals the temperature, body metabolism, etc., based on what time of day the suprachiasmatic nucleus determines it is. And so how it does that is it's based on the color of the light. And so the sunlight is the most potent way of determining that because obviously most of your screens are just emitting the same color throughout the whole day, which screws with your brain's ability to determine the time of day. And so screens at night as well, because then you get weird blue light in where it should be yellow or not there at all. Irregular schedules, artificial light at night, like even just going out partying on the weekends and then sleeping in and then going back to having to go to bed like 3 hours earlier on the weekdays. That's also really shit because your body needs the regularity. And so, yeah, your body's timekeeping system just gets confused. You have time confusion, poor sleep quality, and daytime fatigue. So, even if you're getting the same like 8 or 9 hours, like if you're staying up late and going to bed at like 12 or 1 on the weekend and going to bed at 10 on the weekdays, there's still a bad effect on your body, even though you're getting the same duration and the same good amount. And moving on from that sunlight thing, also sunlight deficiency can still impact it in other ways because sunlight will trigger your serotonin production and support vitamin D synthesis. And so, without enough sunlight, your mood will decline, your sleep cycles will weaken, meaning it's harder for you to fall asleep, harder for you to stay asleep, and your energy levels drop during the day, especially due to your absence of serotonin, which will make you feel more invigorated and more energetic even with the same amount of sleep. So, having more serotonin will make you feel energetic, and so obviously an absence of sunlight will not. And so, because most people modernly spend time indoors, most people are deficient in sunlight, and as a result, sunlight deficiency will have a major effect on their sleep or their energy levels, their perceived energy levels. So, next, like I said at the beginning, sleeping longer doesn't always mean better sleep because you need to get through all of your sleep stages. You need deep sleep and REM sleep, and frequent sleep disruptions like blue light exposure can reduce your body's ability to go into these deeper stages of sleep. So even though you're still asleep, you stay in the shallow area of sleep for longer, meaning that your body can't get the actual deep rest it requires. And apart from that, same as alcohol, stress, and late eating, all of these can do the same thing, basically pulling you into the shallow area of sleep more often, which gives you poor sleep architecture. So even if you have enough hours and you sleep 9 hours, and even if it's consistent, if it's disrupted by these things, you still might not be resting adequately because these deep parts of sleep are responsible for different things. Like for example, uh, muscle consol muscle building, memory consolidation, uh, resting your brain. So all of these things won't occur even if you're sleeping the right amount of hours. Next, modern versus evolved stress. So I talked about stress here, but like if you think about historically, stress was like physical and it was short and it was resolved quickly. Like maybe a lion is attacking your tribe. So it's physical, it's short, you kill the lion and it's done. With modern stress, it's often like psychological, it's constant, it's unresolved. So there was even a study, I forgot to bring it up here, but I read about it, and it basically showed that your brain can't tell the difference between like a predator and like a deadline for work. Like it's the same mechanism that drives both, it's the same stress. And so when you're thinking about a deadline for like work or uni or school or whatever, it's constantly in your head for like weeks on end, and so your brain is constantly stressed, and that will keep your cortisol high, and that can lead to fatigue, sleep disruption, and mental exhaustion. So it's really important that you try to disassociate from this stress. One thing I like to say to myself is, "Oh yeah, it just doesn't matter. Don't care." I find that really just helps me if I just tell myself it doesn't matter, because obviously it's harder to convince myself that, oh yeah, these deadlines aren't actually happening. But just telling myself I don't care sort of helps. And so yeah, I'd suggest doing that. Next is the sedentary lifestyle. So moving around will improve your circulation, your mitochondrial activity, your mood, and your energy metabolism. And so when you're sitting around on a desk indoors for like the whole day, you have way less energy production because you're not triggering any of these pathways. So yeah, that's another one. Modern diet. Oh wait, sorry, just to touch on this one more. I know it's like really counterintuitive because you think, oh yeah, I'm sitting down, so I'm not burning energy. But like I said, moving around, provided it's not extreme levels of movement, like I'm talking about walking around or whatever, it will actually cause more energy production than what it drains, which is weird but true. Modern diet, so refined carbs, seed oils, low micronutrients, which will, spike your blood sugar, poor satiety, which is like you don't feel full, and it contributes to inflammation, all of which will contribute to fatigue and make you feel tired because your body now has to fight inflammation. If you have poor satiety, you're still hungry, so you're low energy, and blood sugar spikes and crashes, and you calm down, you feel crap, and then you're just craving more sugar. Also, this one is quite interesting, dopamine dysregulation. So just stimulation from like social media, gaming, entertainment, all of that sort of stuff can like screw with your dopamine systems. Like this study here showed that prolonged exposure of rodents and birds to fluorescent artificial light, so LEDs, results in an increase in neuromelanin granules and loss of dopaminergic neurons. So basically, their body can't actively absorb or not absorb. It can't recognize dopamine as well, meaning that there's a reduced effect. So like let's say that it's the common thing which you find where, you used to be able to watch a movie from beginning to end and that was super interesting and exciting. And now because of all the doom scrolling you do, now you don't have the watching a movie, it's not simulating enough and it's not enjoyable. That's the logic of this loss of dopaminergic neurons. And so part of this, obviously, as well as being caused by stimulation, which I mentioned above, can also be caused by just the fact of having LED lights, which can reduce motivation, mental exhaustion, and give you difficulty focusing. And next is social isolation. And basically, with social isolation, loneliness has been linked to increased cortisol, increased inflammation, and worse sleep. And you can see this study here that, yeah, experimental manipulation in non-human social species increase tonic sympathetic tonus and hypopituitary adrenal activation. So basically, the fight or flight mode gets upregulated, decreased inflammatory control, decreased immunity, decreased sleep salubrity, which is like sleep quality, and decreased expression of genes regulating glucocorticoid responses, which contributes to higher rates of morbidity and mortality. So basically, a bunch of shit goes wrong when you're isolated. Yeah, that's the picture. And lastly, just to recap, the big picture basically is that modern life has so many different energy drains, and so you need to be really careful in what you consciously engage in. Because if you think about this list, this is everything from screens to LED lights to being indoors to parties to being by yourself. There's so many different things, and so it's really important that you pick your poison, so to speak. Choose what's worth it to enjoy like the modern life and what's not at risk of screwing up your health. And because yeah, individually they're manageable, but it's just the stacking of them on top of each other which produces this chronic fatigue. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you're still watching, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.